So, good afternoon, everyone. We are really happy to welcome you again at Equinox Global Conclave. Hope you had an amazing session this morning, and now we are back with another one. This time we have Mr. Alok Tiwari with us, and we are looking to have a very exciting session with us. Before that, we'd like to welcome Dr. Vishal Krishna Singh. He is the Training and Placement Officer and the Deputy Registrar at IIIT Lucknow. We would ask him to give a welcome note and welcome Mr. Alok, sir.
I hope my voice is clear, Vinay.
Yes, sir.
So hello and welcome all the students and heartily welcome to Mr. Alok Tiwari over here. And we are delighted to host you over here in this function, sir. And the students have placed a great amount of efforts, and the efforts have been reflected in the sessions which we are having in this fest. The today's event and the events which have taken in the past few days have been a great success till now, and we are hoping that with your session, Mr. Tiwari, we are hoping that the students will grab something of importance, as you have wide experience in this in your domain. And I hope all the students will learn few things and make note of what Mr. Tiwari is about to tell us regarding regarding different aspects of technology and the analytical aspects of his company, and his views around about the analytics section or industry which is booming nowadays. So I welcome all of you, and I am really thankful to Mr. Alok Tiwari for agreeing to the request of the students and taking time out of his busy schedule to give a talk on this in this technical fest. Thank you so much, sir. And Vinamr, I think we can start the session with a brief introduction. Thank you.
Over to you, Priyanshu, now. And thank you, sir, for this warm message of yours. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Greetings from Equinox IIIT Lucknow. I am Priyanshu Padhyay and will be your host this session. We are delighted to welcome you to Equinox Global Conclave, where we invite the pioneers in the fields of tech, education, and entrepreneurship to talk to the upcoming generation of problem solvers. The coronavirus pandemic had left the global markets in a vulnerable state. But against all odds, the global markets have made a great bounce back in a matter of months. Today, we have with us Mr. Alok Tiwari, who is the co-founder and CEO of a pioneering fintech company. His creation, Cognext, incubated by Aptiva, is the next generation RegTech that allows banks and financial institutions to automate and digitize analytical processes at an enterprise scale. His visionary approach to creating operational and credit risk tools for the industry is commendable. His business skills show good insight and excellent management. This session will surely compel you to ponder towards the diversified knowledge of the tech field and will change your perspective on it. A very warm welcome to Mr. Alok Tiwari from Team Equinox and IIIT Lucknow.
Thanks, Priyanshu. Thank you, Dr. Vishal. And the team Equinox. It's an absolute privilege to speak with you guys today. And I would like to thank all of you for giving me this opportunity. What I would like to share today through a brief journey we had in our own venture, and probably try and share some of the insights and learnings, and I hope that would be useful for you guys as you move forward in your career, either to start looking to start your own venture, or working with some new ventures and help them shape their businesses. So let me quickly share my screen, and then we can start from there. So I hope everybody can see my screen well.
Yes,
Yes,
sir, it's
yes.
visible.
Yeah. So, Baba, a year back, almost just 14 months to be precise, February 29th, 2020, I was in New York City. We had signed our second customer. Cognext started in 2019, so it was a year-old company then. And we welcomed the 10th team member in our Mumbai office. So a Mumbai headquarter company. So everything looked great. And, in New York City, there was no sign of any abnormality. Life was going on as normal, full of. And I came from New York to Dubai to meet a client, and the world changed. March 11th, 2020, World Health Organization declared COVID-19 outbreak as a pandemic. And what was remarkable in this crisis, though in my career I have seen number of crises, but they were largely limited to economic crises. So I've been early on in my career, I've seen the dot-com crisis in 2000 when the global tech.com world just crashed overnight. Multi-billion-dollar businesses got wiped out within few days. And obviously, economy bounced back, and 2008, again, world had seen a big financial crisis, global meltdown due to the problem in financial markets. And again, we bounced back, but this crisis has been remarkably different because no one in the living human history had seen anything like this. So this is a crisis which took place after 100 years, and nobody had any clue how to deal with it. And obviously, all of us have gone through last 1 year. As a startup, obviously, it was a big challenge, a very big challenge for us, full of uncertainties. How we're going to deal with this, whether we're going to survive, not survive, what would happen to our clients, teams. And here I am today, April 5th, 2021. And from 2 clients, we've now grown in last 14 months, 15 clients. From 10-member team, we've now grown to 45-member team. That is in 12 locations, which is remarkable. We had a single location back then, and we have seen 300% growth in revenue. So we are able to achieve all this while dealing with number of significant challenges from a startup point of view, because the operating model completely changed. Whether it is selling your platform to a client, which was very face-to-face world, people like to touch and feel, they want to see your face. We used to work in office environment and work as a team, and all of us know what had happened. So everyone has moved to a remote working or remote working model. Clients have started to adapt remote delivery models, and all of this. And this turned out to be the single biggest advantage for a startup company like us. So one, it was a big mindset shift from our own point of view, because we were also living in a totally physical world. So if you wanted to add some talent to our team, we would say that you got to come to Mumbai and work from our offices. And suddenly we realized that all those limitations of a normal physical world just went away in this crisis. And that has been a remarkable learning for us, because now, as I mentioned, we have added 35 more people on our team, and they spread across the world. So we have hired talent which is based in Europe. We have hired talent which is based in parts of Asia. We have hired talent which is based across India. So that has been the phenomenal mindset shift from our own learning point of view. And that puts a company like us very competitively against the large company with whom we fight to get the best talent every single day. So in the past, the very large company used to offer location as an advantage. So if you want to work from Bangalore, Hyderabad, Mumbai, Calcutta, Delhi, they will give you the choices. And now, as all of us know, it no longer has any meaning, because we have moved to this working model, which in the physical location no longer matters. So this is what the story, a quick journey, and I thought it is important to share this with many of you who are already thinking about to set up their own business. You are experimenting with an idea. You would like to build something in future, and that is what I'm going to talk about today. So it's a privilege, an absolute privilege, to share insights from this amazing journey. I've been on entrepreneurship path for long. Prior to Cognext, I have co-founded analytics firm Aptiva, which is among the top analytics firm in the country, works with global banks across multiple geographies. And what I thought, to change the topic, because the topic is to rebuild a global enterprise, I have just taken the re-out, and I'm going to focus on build a global enterprise. And I see every one of you here present in today's session as a future business builder. You guys are going to build valuable business in future, and I hope in near future, and set the path for others to follow. Now, building a business is fairly simple. All you need a good idea. So its idea is the starting point. So you need an idea. Obviously, idea alone has no value. So if you don't have an ability to execute your idea, there's no value in idea. So you can come out with an idea dime a dozen, but if you can't execute it, it has no meaning. Executing alone doesn't create value. To create value, you got to scale your business. So these are the three simple things. If you want to build your own business tomorrow, get an idea, build an ability to execute, and then scale it. And I'm going to talk more around these three important dimensions. And these dimension becomes extremely important, especially if you're looking to build a global business like the one we are building at the moment. So let's talk about idea. So idea obviously starts with spotting a problem. So first and foremost, you got to spot a problem. So spotting a problem is fairly commonsensical. If you are aware of your surroundings, aware of your daily lives, you can spot a problem. It's important to find a problem which is big enough. So this is an important point of idea, that the problem you identify has to be a problem big enough, because then finding a solution for that problem would really create value. So find a problem which is big enough. Finding a solution requires you to generalize the problem, because if you can't generalize the problem, you cannot build a business around it. You can find a solution, you may be able to find, but then it will become a solution for a specific problem and a specific solution, and the problem with specific solutions that these specific solutions are not scalable. So you got to find a problem and generalize the problem. That means you need to look around and figure out whether everyone faces the same problem in similar ways. The shape of the problem may look different, but the core of the problem may be the same. So that is what is the very first step in your journey. So when we started Cognext, what is the problem we found? The problem we found was risk models and their life cycle. So for many of you who are not so familiar with financial markets or financial services industry, let me give you a background. Every single financial institution, whether it's a bank, non-banking finance company, whether it's a trading company, asset management company, the range of financial services company, insurance companies, all these companies use hundreds of models to take decisions about their business. So the bigger the business is, the larger the business is, the sophistication of their ability to take decision depends on range of quantitative models or algorithms, as we call them these today. That's what these banks and financial institutions use. So if you go to a large global bank whose balance size runs into trillions of dollars, they have thousands of models. And what are these models? What are these models used for? Suppose if I'm a bank today and State Bank of India, and you come to me and ask for a student loan, how do I decide who should I give this loan or not give this loan? So that is the first decision point for me. So I need to find a objective way. I can't take the decision on subjective way, because if each person starts deciding about a future loan application, then it becomes a problem. There's no objectivity and you will be in a mess very soon. So what banks do, using their past data sets and experience, they build certain models which help them take this decision. Just a very simple example. So when you fill in your application form, submit it to me based on the parameters I have captured in the form and my past history, I have built certain quantitative models, and these models will tell me whether I should approve a loan to this applicant or not. This is just a simple example. So like that, banks take hundreds of decisions for different products, credit card, mortgage, auto. They give loans to large companies like Reliance. They give loans to small businesses, trade. So there are hundreds of models they use. And the problem is these models are like living organisms. So these models need to be trained continuously, because as you give and build more business, you have got more data sets, your macroeconomic environment changes, like the one we have seen very recently in last 12 to 15 months. So how do I make sure the model I built in 2020 is still holds good? So that is what is the problem. So the managing these models becomes phenomenally complex and expensive for these banks, and they spent millions of dollars every year to actually deal with it. So what is the problem? First and foremost, historically how these models were built is very resource intensive. So you get lot of people, and you guys must have read, they've got team of data scientists sitting and handcrafting these models, and when they handcraft these models, it eventually makes the process very fragmented, because everybody's trying to use some kind of a toolkit or platform, be it SAS, R, Python, notebooks, building his own set of models, writing his own code, and then it becomes very code intensive. So the guy who's written the code knows what is going into this model, how it works. For everybody else, it becomes a black box. They don't know how this model works. They only know, if I put this data, this is the output I get. A lot of it is built on the legacy tech, so it is very low performance. So suppose if I want to understand the risk on my credit card portfolio, again, if I'm a large bank, the millions of credit cards I've issued, and if I have to do a one single compute, that would mean I may be spending 18-20 hours just to generate one output, because of the sheer size of the data. And because of this whole resource intensive fragmented code based process and legacy tech, it's phenomenally expensive. As I've said, they end up spending millions of dollars every year just doing management. So this is the problem what we spotted. So we spotted this problem, and what is the solution? So the solution we thought is if we can build a unified platform where this whole life cycle becomes a seamless process, and we break the fragmentation through the process. So starting from the data sets on which I need to build a model, analyzing that data sets, building a model, deploying that model in a production environment, and then monitoring that model whether it's working, not working. If it's not working, again go back to the step one, recalibrate, build a model. So this is the platform what we conceptualize. So this sometime around end of 2018 we started working and defining this solution, and we took couple of months to actually come out with the alpha version of this platform. Now, the point I wanted to highlight is the first point. When we talk about idea, that is what I meant, that you got to spot a problem. Problem has to be big enough, and you got to generalize the problem. So in this case, we generalize the problem as managing the life cycle of a model is the problem. There are a lot of this. Generalizing a problem will require phenomenal ability from you to understand the problem well, because if you don't understand the problem well, what you see in this slide, which looks so simple, you cannot build this diagram because you have no ability to generalize. So my first suggestion and experience sharing with you guys is find a problem, generalize the problem, see if it's big enough, then move forward. So moving forward, we come to the next stage, which is largely about, if I have conceptualized a solution, how do I execute? Because ability to execute is of greater importance than finding a problem. Now, the first and foremost, and all of us read a lot about jargon, and one of the most commonly used word is design thinking, right? So if you got to build an execution strategy, the first step is your ability to think, the ability to think. And the ability to think again would mean that you should be able to abstract the capabilities and feature set of the solution. Because unless you can take an horizontal view of the capabilities and feature set, you won't be able to build or find a solution which becomes scalable. Then you will very soon hit the dead end because you've really not abstracted the capabilities which is required to solve this problem. And I will talk about it, how in the problem we solved, we have figured out what is the general capabilities that we require. The second important point is, which is linked to the first one. If I'm able to abstract the capability and feature set, I can definitely build a platform, because then the platform becomes more horizontal general purpose capability versus a solution which is just solving a specific problem. And just solving a specific problem becomes a point in time solution. And if it is a point in time solution, then your ability to scale it becomes significantly restricted. The second is think about the architecture. So think about the architecture, because if you can't architect it well, it will fail. It will fail very soon. It will fail on your second, third, or fourth customer. And when we talk about the architecture, quite often we get overwhelmed by the technology aspects of it. And my one single suggestion to you guys: technology comes later. First, think the architecture is a functional point of view. That what functional component I need to build a successful solution. Once you have done that, then marrying it with the right technology component becomes easier. So don't put the tech first. Remember this: if you put the tech first and get overwhelmed and you say, oh, this is a cool tech and I want to use it and I will do this, it will fail, because the tech has to deliver a functionality. Without a functionality, the tech has no role to play. So the second important point is to focus on the architecture. Third is, how do I approach, how do I build the solution, right? So I can go to the drawing board and build this hugely meticulous plan and steps, and then start building it. But as we all of us know, when you're in early stage of building a solution, you need to iterate very quickly. You need to iterate based on the customer feedback, based on your own thought process as you get more clarity on your design. So you got to adopt an agile approach. Without an agile approach, again, you will fail, because your ability to continuously and constantly improve your solution will be lost. So pick an approach. Think of you running a marathon, but that marathon is run in shorter sprints. So you're running shorter sprints to cover that longer distance. So that is the approach you got to take, rather than running the marathon on a single sprint. So that is the difference you got to keep in your mind. And last but not the least is talent and skills. Without the right talent and right skills, you will not be able to execute. And this will be discovered as you go and move into production environment, which means essentially deploying your solution on a client um, premise, or if it is gone live and your customer starts using it. And if we don't have right talent skills, then we'll start discovering loads of technical problems, whether it the issue relating to software bugs or issues relating to quality or performance and things. So you got to assemble talent and skills, and this is you as a business builder is single most important dimension. So when you think of a problem and a solution, you got to think of what kind of skill set do I need and how do I get that skill set together, and that would require you to have some uh, capabilities in terms of convincing and selling your idea to that talent. You've got to convince them and say, look, here is a great story. If you guys come, we can build something really valuable, amazing, which we'll all be proud of tomorrow. And that is absolutely important. Now, coming back to the problem I said, so when we looked at that whole risk model life cycle, the design principles, which was my first point, we outlined 5 design principles for the platform we're building. So for the very first design principle was that it has to be open and unified. So we got to make this platform completely open, transparent, use the and it should be unified. So if once the user logs in, whatever you saw in that slide should happen on a single platform. Second, how can I make it self-service, which is nowadays called low-code or no-code framework, which essentially means if I'm an end user, I want to change a model, modify a model, I want to compare two models, I want to compare the versions of model. How do I do it without any support from my tech team? Because I don't want to go to my tech team and say, hey guys, I want to change this model, can you please help? And tech team says, no, it's going to take 2 months because we have to change this in code, this in database, we have to go through a change process. That means your value to the end user is completely gone, which is the problem with the way they do it today. So the second design principle we chose was make it self-service, low code. So if I'm a business user, I don't know much about technology. I do know about models, but how can I use the platform without getting lost into the underlying programming and technology? The third design principle we used, that everything the platform does has to be self-sustaining. So I don't need to go through 100 pages of code documentation. I don't want to go through 100 pages of specifications and understand what this platform is doing, how the computation is happening, how this model works, how this output is generated. I should be able to do it in a very intuitive, visual way where I can just, drill down or navigate through how this whole system works. Fourth, it's got to be high performance. So as I mentioned, if it is taking 18, 20 hours in the past, can I do in 30 minutes? Can I do it in 20 minutes? That is the kind of performance target we set for ourselves. Because unless I bring a scale of disruption, client will not get excited. So when the client sees, oh, what I was doing in 18 hours can be done in 30 minutes. That's where they start having a serious conversation with you. And last but not the least, everything you build, make sure it is cost effective. So finally, every client will look at what is the investment I'm making and what is the benefit I'm gaining. Otherwise, however elegant solution you build, if it is not compellingly cost effective, you will find difficulty in the adoption or selling a software. So these are the design principles we used to build, and I wanted to give you this example so you can relate some of the concepts which I spoke earlier. Now the next stage comes where we talk about scale. So how do I scale? Okay, I got 5 clients. Now how do I go and get 50 clients or 100 clients, right? So the scaling requires scaling on the platform, on the sales, on client success, and it requires capital, both human and money. So the scaling challenge starts with platform. I built a platform, ran for, so our first customer was a bank in Jordan, and that customer had $30 billion of assets. And then we went to this client I mentioned, February 2020 in New York. They had $500 billion of assets. So this customer is 25 times bigger, means my platform has to scale and achieve the performance. Otherwise, I will not succeed. So that is where the platform scaling comes into the picture. Second is, how do I scale in sales? When I'm looking to build global business, I need to identify the right geographies and customer segments, and then I need to identify what is the right channel to approach those customer and geographies. So whether I go sell directly, I find partners, how do I approach and sell? And believe me, building a global business, and when you talk about sales and client success, you got to understand the soft aspects of cultural and social orientation. One of the single biggest limitations I have seen where a large part of our startup ecosystem fail, they don't understand the social and cultural aspects of selling and handling a client or client success, because an American behaves very different than a guy here in the UK and a guy here in the Germany and the guy in Saudi Arabia and a guy in India. They have very different cultural orientations. The buying behavior is very different. And when you have sold them, when you implement your project, their success depends on how well you are able to manage the softer aspects. And that's one thing I would like each of you to encourage. And if you are looking to build global business, please get yourself oriented with the softer aspects of cultural and behavior of a specific geography, because one size fits all will not work. It will completely not work. So how you sell to a client in Mumbai is not going to work how you sell it to a client in New York. And you got to understand and learn it really fast, because when you go and meet a client in New York, he's more interested in talking about American football, and the guy sitting in Mumbai wants to talk about cricket. So that is the point I'm driving here, that softer aspects are absolutely critical. And last but not the least, is capital. Capital, I would put human capital first, and the money, because quite often we get lost in the money, and we, if I have a great idea, quite often for me not to execute or build a business, the most popular excuse, oh, I didn't have money. If I had money, I would. You don't need money to build businesses. And this venture, Cognext, what we have built today, we have not taken a single rupee of funding from any investor so far. So we build it ground up. So money does give you a lot of acceleration. There's no argument about it. And there is a point in your journey where you will need money to scale. But if you start focusing on money, bringing money takes away huge amount of your time, which you would have spent building product, finding a customer. So rather than chasing a customer, building product, you end up chasing the money and waste your time. So you got to find creative ways when you bootstrap, and then when you scale, you got to need money. And once you have achieved certain milestone, you can raise money. Like today, we have achieved milestones. Rather than we approaching the investors, we keep getting investor interest every week. Oh, you guys have built something good, we'd like to invest. So that is the approach you got to take. And don't underestimate the human capital, because that is the single biggest barrier in scale up. If you can't find talent, you can have a great roadmap, you have built a good, better product, you've got a few customers, but how do I go to the next stage would depend on how you get, equally brilliant, intelligent guys like you to, buy into your vision and help you build. And how that's what we're doing today. We're scaling up across geographies. We've got clients in North America, in Europe, in Asia, and Africa. And what we have delivered so far, 20x in performance improvement, 40% efficiency gain in that life cycle you see, and 40% cost saving. This 40% comes out to be a big number, because if a client is spending $10 million, means he's already saved $4 million, which is a big number. And significant risk reduction in the risk in these models, how these models are managed. So that is what I wanted to share today. And last 15 minutes of this session, I will be very happy to interact with you guys and answer questions. If I don't have an answer readily available, I promise I'll revert back, and let's start talking now.
So that was a very informative and a riveting session by you. Thank you so much for that. We're honored to have you here. We'll start with the question from Saksham sir. If you had one piece of advice to someone just starting out, what would it be?
So one piece of advice is that you got to believe in your idea, because if you don't believe, then nobody else will believe it, and you will never succeed. So believe in what you're doing, and that alone will take you ahead in your journey.
So another one, a similar one would be when we are starting a venture like this, we would need a lot of motivation in a way to start out, because there'll be a lot of boulders we'll be facing throughout our journey. So throughout your journey, what was that motivated you? What kept you going throughout the different, you faced a pandemic in the middle of you starting a venture. So what was that kept you going?
So see, the singular focus, and as I've said, in what you're trying to do and believing, and that will bring the passion. So your ability to overcome any hurdle, will become very natural. So I think your passion and belief is the single biggest driver for as an entrepreneur. Don't, as I always say, that don't look for the problems, because if you look for the problems in your journey. Every day you will find hundreds, and what is a common term used in our internal discussion is analysis paralysis. If I keep analyzing, and I will always find 10 reasons not to do. So just look for one reason why I should do it, and that's good enough for you to keep going.
That's really informative, sir. Hopefully, we'll someday start our own ventures and remember all this advice from you. Sir, another question from me would be, how do you see the cryptocurrency market scaling from here? Because as Dr. Burry, who predicted the 2008 financial crisis, has also said that he believes the cryptocurrency market is the bubble. So what is your opinion on the cryptocurrency market as of right now?
So see, let's break the cryptocurrency in two parts, right? So what does a currency do? What is the basic function of a currency, right? Suppose today I've got an elephant and you've got a goat. You want to go sell your goat to me, and I want to sell my elephant to you. How do we do this, right? So what a currency does is takes away from a barter world. It is a standard unit of transaction, and the biggest benefit of currency is that it is divisible, right? So I can't divide an elephant in 100 parts, but I can divide a currency in 100 parts, right? And then we come to the how part of it, right? So the how part of it, if you see the history of currency, the how part has moved from a intrinsic value to a paper value, right? So the old days we used to have a currency. If it is written $100 means it is the intrinsic content of that currency would worth $100, right? So they used to use precious metals or gold, silver, copper, and other things, right? Then came the paper currency. So the how part now is what is being addressed by cryptocurrency, right? So how you can create. Now, the challenge is that crypto so far is just an asset class for investment. It has not become a mode of transaction. And in my view, currency success will only come if it becomes a mode of transaction. Because if it just stays as a investment asset, it is like buying a diamond or buying an expensive piece of art which is hanged on my wall and the value is going up. So the turning point in crypto's future is going to be only when it becomes a mode of transactions, and for it to become that, obviously it has to pass the scrutiny of trust, and the trust by the regulator, trust by the common people. Otherwise, because the fundamental characteristic of a currency is trust. If you don't trust, you can't. So that is what my view on the crypto. So it's going to be a long journey, to be honest. It's not going to happen. So it may continue to be a good asset class for me to make my investment and make money out of it. But whether it will become a real world currency one day, we got to wait and see that.
So the markets have become extremely volatile after the bounce back from the lows of March and April. So how do you look forward to the volatility of the markets? Because as of talking right now, the India VIX is up by 12%. So how do you plan on adapting your models for such a high levels of volatility that has never been seen before in financial markets?
See, so volatility is a fundamental fuel on which markets survive. So if there's no volatility, nobody will trade, right? Now the question is that humans can only handle certain amount of uncertainty, because volatility is just a measure of uncertainty, right? What I'm doing, finding a mathematical way to measure the uncertainty. In case of stock market, that is the prices of stocks. That's what I'm trying to measure. So first and foremost, we got to remember that volatility is a fundamental fuel. If I don't see both way movement, market will never function. So I got to see both movements. So there has to be a buyer and there has to be seller. And second is excessive volatility is a problem. Now the excessive volatility is arising out of the huge amount of uncertainty in the underlying uh, macroeconomic environment today, because nobody knows. Like, see, we were talking earlier before the session, India has now entered the second wave. We don't know how the second wave is going to unfold, how long it will take, what part will be open, what will be closed. So there are a lot of uncertainties. And when I cannot quantify uncertainties, suddenly my views become very volatile. One day I feel, oh, there's nothing to worry. Next day I suddenly say, oh, this world is going to fall apart. So that in my view, all of us will continue to see volatility for next 18 to 24 months. It is not going to stabilize until unless we see a steady trend, and that steady trend, part of it can hopefully come from the vaccination, where we see, okay, we are able to go to a steady state, without which you will see up and down. Because today I'm saying, oh, you can fly, tomorrow you can't fly, so I'll go suddenly start selling my airline stock. If today I can go on holiday, so I start buying hotel stocks. Tomorrow I cannot go to holiday, I'll start selling hotel stocks. So obviously one thing which massively, as all of us have seen, benefited in this current cycle is all the technology companies hugely benefited. So their stocks have gone up massively. So whether it's Amazon or any other, they have really. So it's going to be there 18 to 24 months. I don't see a stable environment. It is now you guys are, on a lighter note, got a baptism by fire. So you've seen a crisis so early in your life. And believe me, this is of great value, and you guys will realize, because as you move forward, and if you see problems and shorter disruption, you have seen such a massive disruption, everything else will look so small. As you move forward, you'll say, oh, what is this? It's just a 3-day breakdown. What I've seen is a 18 months breakdown. So that will significantly help you guys to build your resilience. And I personally see it very positively, though going through it is very painful. Going through any crisis painful, but it would be hugely valuable as you move ahead in your life and careers.
Right. So another question from one of the viewers is, right now almost every idea has some implementation is there. Some startup is there to tackle almost every problem. So if we start a startup and we already have some competition rising up with us, how would you tackle the competition? How would you expect someone to tackle competition? What would be the best path for you to tackle the competition?
So first and foremost, see, let's keep this notion out from our mind that you got to be the first guy to think about it. It's not about the first. Being first mover has advantage, no doubt about it, right? So they have got a head start. But being first always doesn't help. And there are many case studies globally where a guy who's come 5 days after you has become the market leader. So first you got to be convinced about your idea, as I've said. If you are convinced, then if anybody else is doing it, really doesn't matter. All I need to do is do it better than the other guy. And to tell you I will tell you a small story or a joke here, that, and you guys should keep that in mind, that there were two friends walking in the forest, and the first guy sees a grizzly bear coming in front, and he suddenly starts running. So the other guy tells him, "Are you mad? You can't outrun a grizzly bear in forest." And this friend said, "I don't need to outrun grizzly bear. I just need to outrun you." So point I'm saying, you you just need to be intelligent enough to outrun your competition, and that will come purely from how much passion you bring, because the insights you can, I mean, it's always good to study what competition is doing right and what they're not, more important what they're not doing right, but many times that information is not available in public domain. Sometimes it is, sometimes it is not. So if we are not here to incrementally improve on competition, that's why I say go always by first principle. If somebody is traveling by bike, can I travel by another mode and reach faster, cheaper? That's the approach you should take. And beyond the point, no point worrying about a competition, because there's always be a competition. There's no business in the world where there's no competition, unless you are a government. So government is the only place there's no competition.
Right. So, are there any books that you love and you would like to suggest that us young, gonna be engineers and gonna be entrepreneurs read such books that would give us more insight onto the world of entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I mean, one book I would strongly recommend, and I don't know whether it suits everybody's taste, but there is a book called Capitalism Without Capital, and you guys should read that book, because that books actually very methodically explains how intellectual capital is the new currency, and if you have the right intellect, you can achieve anything. So I would strongly recommend. It's a little bit of data and economics in it, but and go till the last page. It's a phenomenal book which reflects the world we are living in today.
Right. So, if you wouldn't mind telling us what, looking forward, how do you scale, or like how do you plan on scaling your enterprise, and what do you plan on doing next with Cog?
So our next target is now, in about 2 quarters, we will be going for investment, raising money for two reasons. One, to accelerate our product development cycle, and also to scale the sales largely in the Europe and North American market. That is the plan, if you ask me, next 2 quarters, while we continue to win clients and on our own. Now it's time to change the gear. So we're going to get into a high growth trajectory in next 2 quarters.
A chat favorite question for you, sir. What are the qualities that you look for in a person when you hire?
So see, when we hire, generally, first and foremost, we, especially for a company like us, we look for the um, energy and enthusiasm. That is the very first thing, because you can have the right aptitude, you can have the right skill, but if you don't bring the right energy to the workplace, you will not succeed. And what I mean by that, and it is advice for all of you as you step in, that all of us are made for different situations, and there are very few who can adapt. There are few who can adapt to every situation. So there are guys who do immensely well in a large organization, and there are guys who do immensely well into small organizations. So you got to figure that out yourself and place yourself, because They are guys, if you like, very structured, 9 to 9 working. Somebody got to tell you very structured. This is your job. This got to do. It's you got to say, oh, that's my personality. Or if you're a guy who like to take initiative, roll up your sleeves, you know, do things, jump on, learn, and then you will fail miserably in a large organization. Then the company like us would be the right place for you. So uh, my recommendation or suggestion to you guys is place your personality, see what you like, and then choose the place. Because there are a lot of guys we have seen, they get super excited by this cool startup stuff and this, and then they come and say, oh, this is not place for me, this is total chaos, I don't know what's going on here, nobody tells me what to do. And there's a guys I've seen who go to mm, a large company and say, oh, I'm feeling I've gone back to primary school and everything here, I have to follow a rule and I have to follow the instruction, I don't want to do it. So place your personality. Obviously, being from triple IIT, all of you are incredibly talented and skills, so I don't think skills and talent is going to be an issue at all. It's more about the attitude and the right fit for yourself.
Thank you so much, sir, for taking out time from your busy schedule and for this insightful session. Any closing remarks from you, sir, as we're ending the session?
Yeah, my closing remark is I always tell to every person who comes and join us that you know, do and build something of your own. There's nothing more fulfilling, exciting, and valuable than building something or so, irrespective of how small or big it is. So don't worry about whether it's small or big. You know, a guy who runs a tea stall at the corner is as proud as a guy who built Starbucks. So it finally doesn't matter as long as you are happy, you're proud of something you built. So go and build something. That would be my advice. Mm to you. Money will follow, money will follow, so don't run after money, money will follow. If you build something successful, money will follow.
Again, so we can't thank you enough for taking out time from your busy schedule for us and giving all us youngsters a lot of information and insights from your largely successful journey. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Priyanshu. Thank you, everyone, Dr. Vishal and whole Equinox team and all the students. Stay safe and stay healthy. That thank you.
Okay, so thank you for joining, everyone. Have a great day. Bye bye.